morning, everyone. I'm Randy from Blackburn's, and behind me with his back turned is Eric. We're both here from Blackburn's. I'm the business development manager. Eric is the complex rehab sales and marketing representative. We've been asked to come in today and share with you, the group, information about our company and the type of services and products that we do offer, which is fairly comprehensive. They cover a wide range of services. Just a little history, Blackburn started in 1936 as a privately owned pharmacy, and since then has grown into a clinical-based, multiple services, products company that encompasses services across 4 states. We still have our corporate offices in Tarentum, and we now have offices in Harrisburg, Pittsburgh, Tarentum, Erie, and Rochester, New York, which covers the region that we're currently working from. Tarentum is our headquarters still, and that's where the base of all of our services come from. We have 188 employees right now across all the locations, so it's grown quite a bit from the 12 people corner store, drugstore. Some recognitions we've received over the years is Blackburn's is one of the oldest DME companies in the eastern United States, starting back in 1936. We also have been recognized back in 1996 as the best rehab company in the entire nation. When I say rehab, we're the company that goes out and works with the clinical ATPs, or the ATPs work with the pharmacists and the physicians, and also the therapists to determine what type of medical devices they need and supplies. From a devices standpoint, some people may need standard DME like walkers to higher end complex power wheelchairs. So that's what we specialize in, is complex rehab, and I'll let Eric talk a little bit about that. It's with his part. In addition to that, our clinical services encompasses a wide range, and I have a handout here that you can take with you that explains everything that we offer, from the pharmacy, medical supplies, respiratory services. We also do have RTs that go out and do sleep apnea machines, ventilators, which is very odd to have because that's a very high-end, complex type device that requires very intense service. So our RTs handle that from both a pediatric and also from an adult standpoint. From the home medical equipment, that's all the medical supplies. Things that you need from your supplies that you use for your home, for your beds, incontinence, urological, everything. Complex rehab, that is the wheelchairs and so forth mentioned. And then another area that we have, which is new in 2012, we started a division called our Home Accessibility Group. And that's the one that helps people adapt their house to make it safe, like stair lifts, ramps, overhead lift systems to help them do transfers. Because as things happen with life-changing events, people still want to live in their home. But to do that, they need this equipment to make it safe to do transfers and navigate throughout the home. So we're going to share a little bit of this with you here today. So before I go any further, Eric handed out these little pamphlets to you, so we also have other things up here for you today too. Some post-its you can take home with you, some giveaways. If you want to take a couple more of these with you, that's feel free. If you have a friend that you would like to share this with, please do it. Eric, do you want to add anything?
So like Randy said, I'm complex rehab sales and marketing rep, and what that encompasses is your standard power chairs, and then your more intensive power chairs like the Group 3 power that have the tilt and recline to them. Also, I kind of cover the DME side of things as well. So your standard traditional wheelchairs, walkers, rollators, canes, bedside canes, everything medical equipment wise that we put in the home, we do. Blackburn's does everything but infusion therapy. So we cover the gambit of home. Definitely the most extensive DME company in Pennsylvania, probably east of the Mississippi. So we work with a lot of the therapy groups. We'll come in, our ATPs, which is called Assistive Technology Professional, they'll come with a therapist during your session and fit you for a proper custom wheelchair when you're in need. So that's on the complex rehab side. Also, we cover support services. So if you ever have wounds, there's different levels of support services that are covered under insurance. So your standard hospital bed is what's called a group 1, a mattress. And then a group 2 would be like a low air loss, which is an an air bed that basically alternates different tubes in the support service so that you're not constantly pressurizing one part of your back or your bottom side. So those are covered under insurance too. And then if you do have wounds, you go up to what's called a air fluidized bed or fluid immersion therapy, which that is typically if you have like a stage 3 or stage 4 wound. Those beds are like 30,000 plus. So insurance requires you to have pretty severe wounds to get those, but we do those as well. So on the respiratory side, I was mentioning about that too. We do the CPAPs, BiPAPs. There's new combo systems out there. So there's actually non-invasive ventilators that are comboed with nebulizer with an oxygen concentrator. So instead of having 3 devices, not only use one. That's great for individuals with COPD that have readmission cases where they go in the hospital at least once a year for a readmission due to the COPD. Insurance will cover something like that. We have full-time respiratory therapists that come out and work with you, and God forbid something happens to your machine and you call, you don't get a call center or you don't get somebody saying call 911. You get our actual respiratory therapist cell phone. Weekends, middle of the night, we talk to our teams. Most companies tell you to call 911. So, and again, they're full-time. They're not per diem like other DME companies that just get paid to set up. So you'll see them for the setup and we'll never see them again. So that's not Blackburn. It's still owned by the same family. And it's actually 2 families that own it, and the sons took over a few years back, and they've been investing heavily into Blackburns and not looking to sell like most DME companies. So we're going to stay family owned. One of the last ones left, pretty much. That is family owned. So it's different when you're dealing with a family owned company than a private equity company that is only out for the bottom line. Also, we still have some of these wheelchairs, especially the Group 3 powers, they can get upwards of $25,000-$30,000. So Medicare policy without a supplement or a secondary, 20% co-insurance can be really, really high. So we actually still have a, you can still fill out a hardship, and we would actually eat that 20% and not bill that to you if you qualify. So just because you might not think you can afford it doesn't mean you can't get it. Any other questions for me?
I'm sorry. I fractured my femur and I was in personal care, and they told me I could get insurance would cover one device. It could either be the walker or the wheelchair. Your choice. I mean, why? Why would you pick a walker if you're going to need a wheelchair?
Yeah,
right?
and so Medicare has what's called a 5-year rule. So you're allowed one mobility device over a 5-year period, 60 months, and then you're allowed another one. That's the case, but if you have a change in condition, so say walking with a walker just fine, but now you don't have the other strength to control that walker anymore, or you have a change in condition, so now you qualify for a wheelchair. So just because there's that 5-year rule doesn't mean that you're stuck. There's cases where people don't understand it, and the hospital orders them a transport chair, which is the cheapest of the wheelchairs.
Yeah.
They get home and now they're stuck with the
Transport to the
transport.
smaller ones, aren't they?
Yeah, so it's just transport chair. You can go to CVS and buy them, for whatever, $50-$60. So they're just lightweight. The type of chair that you do not. It's just to transport you from the car to the house or something like that, because you're probably gonna get wounds if you're using it as your standard wheelchair. So, but yeah, that's a good question, and it's not completely true. Yeah. But
Well, I think there would be my choice. I could either get a walker while I was there, or I could get the wheelchair. And it's like, if I'm going to need a wheelchair, I might, I don't need it now, but I have it now.
Yep, and they should have explained that to you. just to say, you know, if your condition worsens, then we can get you a new wheelchair.
Right. You need to look at the economic side of it too. A walker, let's just take a number close to $100.
Of course.
Okay. Now, if you have to move up into like a transport chair or another type of wheelchair, that could be a few $100s. So there comes to the point where you do the math and figure out what makes more sense if your condition will change. And insurance is very tricky. Everyone's insurance in this room is different. If I open up and you gave us your information over the phone, even though it says Highmark, PPO, your group is different than your PPO group, and then there's different qualifications and so forth. We have a trained staff of intake people who take the call and they get your insurance information along with the doctor's script and orders and all the documentation that needs to be brought together so that it can be submitted to the insurance company for approval. What you don't normally see is you normally get the order from the doctor that says as you leave the office, here's a script for your wheelchair. And you think that piece of paper, that's the end of it. No. What happens, used to be. What happens now, either electronically or old-fashioned fax, we receive this order, we then have to put it through a process that our customer service reps are trained on to put into our computer system all your demographic information, your insurance information, and your medical condition diagnosis, along with the doctor's notes, signed, and that then gets submitted, put through, and sent to the insurance company, which we then have to wait for acceptance or denial. Then we then move forward with the order. Sometimes the acceptance and denial is fairly quick, it should be. Other times where we still are missing pieces of information from the doctor's office where they just sent a script without all the supporting documentation that we must have, then that can delay the process a little bit. It's not Blackburn's being the bad guy. People get upset and say, why is it taking so long? We should have this by now. What they don't understand is we are dictated by the insurance companies to provide the information in a certain format. And then if we don't do that, the insurance will deny the order. And or the other part is if we ship it out without going through the proper process, we can get dinged on an audit and say you didn't have this proper documentation for this order and you should have, and they'll deny it, which in turn we have to reimburse them the money. So for these very high-end chairs, as Eric was pointing out, you definitely don't want to be in a position where you have to be dinged on any amount of anything, because everything that is the pricing on everything is so marginal. There's very little profit in any of this.
And you guys are never dinged on an insurance call, like it's the DMV company that gets dinged.
No, it's not that part, but I needed to make an appointment with an oral surgeon in Tarentum. And she said, what kind of insurance do you have? And I said, UPMC for life. And she said, we don't take that for dental, we take it for medical.
So
I figured out, because they don't get reimbursed enough to use the dental part, correct? Is that what it
It's
is?
a little bit different, yeah.
yeah, the
But I
dental
thought,
part.
it's hard to understand some of that.
It is.
Yeah, so UPMC's dental side of it is subcontracted out, so they don't even manage that dental side. It's another entity, and believe it or not, it's like every dentist that says they take UPMC insurance they don't. And the state really needs to take a look at that, because it's even when you call in, they say, okay, you have 20 dentists in your area, not one of them takes insurance.
Yes, I went on to my UPMC, I put in oral surgeon, and one came up, I live in Aspinwall, and one came up right near me, so I called, and it was the exact same thing, but their out-of-pocket was gonna start $50 more than Tarentum. I was like,
Yeah.
They do that.
I'm going to Tarentum.
So there's something called a contracted rate, right? So if you're in network, you have a contracted rate. UPMC's contracted rate is so low on the dental side that
I figured that, I did figure that, and the medical means they're gonna put you to sleep, right? If they're the oral surgeon, it's gonna be more money. I mean, it's gonna be.
Yeah, once you deal with the anesthesiology side of it, it changes.
Totally different, yeah.
Probably hence
But
the
they should-
physical benefits.
They shouldn't be on my UPMC telling me that
Correct.
they're
Right.
that I'm eligible, and then I'm
Yeah.
not.
And
That's
that's,
just a
I
side
agree.
note, I'm
I
sorry.
agree.
and what you're explaining to Eric and I is the one common complaint we have with people who call in and talk to our customer service people. They will say, well, the insurance says I should get it. What they don't realize is, just like Eric pointed out, is the physician in service, or in network, or out of network. And what's the diagnosis. Certain things are not covered, and certain doctor's offices may not accept that insurance, okay? So there's a lot of variables that go into that. Now, there is one more thing that you need to know, and that is, within the Pittsburgh region, we have a very unique market. What I mean by that is we have two key players, UPMC and Highmark, okay? Both are kind of combating for the market share from a multitude of areas, you know, in regards to their hospitals and also the network of physicians that you have access to their own DME companies, so, and their own insurance companies. So they kind of follow a real fine line between legalities, between separation of care from insurance, but they're still kind of related in a very legal way, I guess you could say. I have to say that with some grace. But one of the things that we have found, and this is very true across all systems, you as a patient, if you're in a facility and you're being discharged, you, by law, have the right to choose who you want your products from. What pharmacy, what provider you would like to use for your equipment when you go home.
They don't ask you that.
They don't.
Yeah, patient choice kind of was thrown out the window because of Obamacare. It kind of changed the rule. Before it was patient choice and you got your choice. So a hospital would give you a sheet with 6, 7 different companies on it. Their company would be on the very top and the other companies.
And they seem to be doing more of doing
fill
a
it out ahead of
pharmacy
time.
right at the hospital,
Right.
Yes.
which they didn't used to do. You used to get your script and you know, go get it filled, and now they give you just like, here, it's the pharmacy.
Yeah, and that's what's really unique about this market here that we're in. If you go to other areas in this country, it's not like this. But
West Virginia is up until 2 years ago was basically just Medicare and Medicaid. You know, now it's kind of following. Actually, a lot of higher ups from UPMC went down to WVU medical system and now work there. And my mom and dad.
My orthopedist just went to West Virginia.
Yeah, so
Dr.
they started their own insurance too now. It's called Peak, which we are fully in network with.
Yeah.
So going along with insurance, just to kind of help you out there, to make it simple, Blackburns, we are contracted with most, if not all, the major medical insurances here in the Pittsburgh region and also across the nation. Geisinger is one of the newer ones we've added on to our coverage, which is a national healthcare plan.
Is Geisinger national?
Yes.
So, well, they're owned by Kaiser Permanente.
Okay. So it's
which
not
is the
just the
largest insurer in California.
Okay.
Yeah.
They were a hospital system, which UPMC bought their hospital side. They kept their insurance side separate. Geisinger was actually just Pennsylvania, but the parent company now.
No, it has
Okay.
across the nation.
Yeah.
I wondered, I mean, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Highmark is sort of like a derivative of Blue Cross and Blue Shield. UPMC is it's
It's its own, right?
yeah. So, but they are expanding too, because right now we provide services across the state of Pennsylvania, and they are now starting to expand their hospitals and their network of physicians further east, central PA, and further.
They have some in New York now too.
Are they involved? I guess they're in all of the. I see a lot of the UPMC urgent cares popping up.
That's all.
And the one in Aspinwall that was MedExpress is now UPMC.
Yeah,
urgent care.
you're going to see a lot of what's it called, Oak. What's that?
Oak Street.
Oak Street. So that's owned by CBS Aetna. They put 3 up in the Pittsburgh area in literally like 35 days. And out east, they're putting up 1 every other week. There's probably, I want to say there's upwards of 30 already in PA just this year alone.
Oh,
And we get a lot of orders from them because they do a lot of stuff electronically. And we were one of the first companies to get involved in something called Parachute, which actually creates the face-to-face notes for the doctor. So it makes it easy for the doctor staff to, kind of create the face-to-face notes by clicking on yes or no answers. And then it generates everything to us, 100% billable, never needs to be addended again. So it's quick and easy. And now Blackburn's even started with AI. So we actually have an AI technology that it's connected to our fax machine and will pull the orders. And it'll screen the orders and then immediately put it in for billing.
are you still using a fax machine?
Sure.
There are doctors.
I didn't know anybody. Oh, okay.
We still have doctor's offices that won't allow faxes. Everything's got to be mailed.
Yeah,
physical copy.
I was thinking digital, but
They went in, I went to go drop off paper to get it signed, and they wouldn't even allow me to do that.
no, they won't even send the email, they want a hard copy.
Via, and it's gotta be postmarked.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So, I mean, and again, it's just different technology, different ways of doing business, and it's slowly changing. So the newer technology is coming across, making it easier to get the orders faster and more compliant. And it just takes time to get all the peripheral service areas, like the doctor's offices and everyone else out there, adapting that, okay? But it's coming, it's getting much, much better. Going back 12 years ago, as Eric pointed out, it was walking around, making phone calls, walking into doctor's office with papers and saying, you need this, 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 and this for this order for this patient, and you sit there and wait for the doc to give you the documentation that you needed, and then you come back to the office with it. So a lot of on the road, shoe leather, out talking to people and making sure we get what we need to complete the order.
Yeah, now, I mentioned parachute, 3 years ago it was implemented, and we've had, when you get a piece of equipment, there's what's called a HCPCS code attached to that. That's how you bill the device. We've had over 20,000 HCPCS code ordered on that online site, just from local facilities for the last 3 years. So it's amazing tech. I mean, people that never did business with Blackburn before, we have a catalog online and go and they order everything. So things are changing.
do you do also rentals of the things or no?
Different devices we have rentals for. Insurance will rent to own. Some items they rent, like a invasive ventilator that never gets patient owned. That's always a rental because of the maintenance that's needed and the constant or the constant RT contact that you need. But most devices are either purchased or rent to own. If it's something like you have your wheelchair but you're going on vacation and need a scooter, like a portable scooter that breaks down into 3 pieces and you can carry with you, we rent those out. We get calls a lot for, we rent stair lifts because we're going in for a surgery and surgery. That's something that we don't do. We don't rent the stair lifts. There's just a lot of liability with those, and God forbid something happens. So yeah, we don't do the rentals, but if you have, about 4 or 5 years ago, there was a lawsuit in Pennsylvania where disabilities groups sued Medicaid, PA Medicaid, and the judge agreed with the disabilities group. And everybody now that has Medicaid has coverage for home accessibility. So what that is modular ramps, stair lifts, vertical platform lifts, even home elevators now are covered.
Wow.
So yeah, there's physical benefits of Medicaid have expanded greatly over the past few years.
That's one of the groups that I personally started with a couple other people in our company 12 years ago. And when we started, insurance wasn't covering anything. It was all private pay. So if you wanted a stair lift or a ramp, it was cash. And so it was a very select market. People who had the ability to do it would do it. But as Eric pointed out, it changed. And when it changed, we were in a great position because we have in place all the certified technicians who go through the manufacturer training for all the products that we offer, certifications, and make sure that we're up on all the newer technologies. And we employ full-time installers. We do our own service. And that way you're not dealing with a product that someone sells to you, drops it, and it leaves. There's a lot of individuals out there that were doing this, and whenever they implemented the insurance component, they went away because they were not considered, what's the right word? They weren't.
So they were contracted with
contracted,
with
yes.
the insurances. They weren't part of
CHC.
Well, there's a state agency that did be part of it,
Yeah.
like area on aging or something like
Yeah,
that. But yeah, since we had all the contracts and we weren't a fly-by-night company and we had the insurances in place and all that, we were able to do it with the physical benefits. A lot of those fly-by-night companies, they don't even have the insurance policies in place, which gives them, basically you need so many $100,000 of coverage to do work in people's homes and liability insurance, and people were doing this without insurance whatsoever.
Right.
And then anything that Blackburn sells, we service.
Right.
So a lot of the companies, they'll do work here in Pittsburgh, they'll do those Group 3 $40,000 power chairs in Pittsburgh. They won't service it because those are purchased by the insurance, so they get their check and they run. Our service department, you know, we, especially in the summertime, we have 300 to 400 service calls a month, of which, you know, upwards of 40% aren't even our clients, because our owners decided that we were going to service those people that didn't have anyone to service, just because, again, family-run company and they still have. So, but yeah, so just be careful who you're using sometimes, make sure they're reputable, or just use Blackburn.
And when you point out that includes some of the national providers where they'll provide the product and then the services sort of teleservice where everything's done on the phone. And that's good for certain types of helping people out with the problem, but there are times where you physically have to go and do the repair or figure out what's going on with the equipment. And we do that. We have technicians. All of our locations, we have certified technicians repair. We perform on the equipment and send techs out to the home if necessary or facility to work on the product there, and it's the best way to handle repair. Okay.
We also have full-time nurse, registered nurse on staff. That's another thing that sets us out apart from other companies is, you know, we have a lot of clinical certified individuals. We have pharmacists, ATPs, registered nurses, and RTs. So our clinical side is robust compared to most companies. And anytime that, you know, a new catheter patient comes on, or wound care, or even incontinence, you know, those people are registered nurse, kind of walk through, instruct them on the proper way to use the equipment or supplies, and then also we even double check to make sure it's the right supply for them.
What kind of questions do you have? We're here to answer questions too.
Speaking of the lift system, is that ever covered by insurance?
Medicaid.
Okay.
So prior to COVID, well, Medicare created billing codes for some of the home accessibility stuff. They created billing codes for stair lifts, grab bars, a few other things, but they didn't put the monetary value. So it's zero payment for that code, but the code is created, which allows the Medicare Advantage plans then to cover it if they choose. And UPMC and Highmark were starting to cover the stair lifts, and then COVID hit, and that's put on the back burner. So it's hit or miss. We've actually had some UPMC Medicare Advantage plans cover some stair lifts, but it's probably 10% of the time, you know. So, but it's going to happen. I fully believe, because it's cheaper for the system to keep you at home than it is to put you in a skilled facility.
What I would add to that is, if you're not sure and you feel that one of these products is something you really need in your home, we actually will come out and do a free home evaluation. We send out a person who will walk through your home and determine what type of stair lift, if any, would work in your home, the best solution for that. If you need some type of ramping system to get up the steps from outside into the home safely and out, because steps are a big hazard. I put a little brochure in there because there's preventing falls in the home. A lot of people don't think about this because when things happen, that's where most accidents occur. And I was at a conference one time, and there was an orthopedic surgeon having a discussion about surgeries that he does. And one of the things he started off with the conversation was with a question. He says, "What do you think is the most common cause of the surgeries I do?" And he just let random people answer. People said all kinds of different things. He says, "Incontinent." Everyone looked at him like with puzzled eyes. "What are you talking about?" He says, "Think about it. You're sitting at home in your lounge chair watching TV. And there's the walker. And there's the bathroom down the hall. And then you have that sudden urge, and then you start to go walking down the hall too, and you never make it. And it's because you start to rush and you trip." He said that's the most common cause. He shared that, and it was sort of interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah, because it's something we all have done. You know, you get to a point where you get that sudden urge, and you rush, and if you're using a device, it becomes a trip where it slows you down. It's how fast you can get there. So again, if you're not sure about a particular product, reach out to us. We will come into your home and do a free home evaluation to give you any suggestions on what would be suggested to you for your home. Okay, there should be a stair lift, a platform lift in situations where we can't put a ramp in. We have platform lifts where there's little elevators that can range you from a lower level to a higher level outside. Also, overhead lift systems. If you have somebody who's in a wheelchair that cannot transfer and it's becoming physically challenging for the caregiver to do the transfer from bed into the chair, we make offer portable overhead lift systems and or room overhead lift systems that are not wall mounted, but they are in a way where they do not take away from the structure of the room. So it allows you to do a lift transfer over to a chair that sits right beside the bed. And a lot of people use those because now they can transfer from the bed into a shower chair to roll into the shower to do the shower, bring it back, transfer them into the other bed, do their change, put it back into a normal chair, all in the bedroom. Whereas before that was a little bit of a challenge. And we do a lot for kids, and as the kids get older, that's when that becomes more and more of an issue. So it's all ages.
And part of that assessment is, we'll check your insurance to see if you're on coverage for it or not.
Thank you.
That'll let you know.
And everything's up front with you. Any other questions?
It's very interesting.
We're going to stop at this point, let you come up and grab something to eat. While you're eating, feel free to ask us questions, take some information home with you and share it with other people. So Eric has done some paper around some soups, salads, and sandwiches, so
Nice job, Eric.
yeah. Eric's the master of this. I believe this is he does, he's in
I do like 3 of these a week. So.
Yeah.
Eric, you weren't in here when I said we always go to lunch on Thursday after class, and Thursday is the best suited day for them to do their talks. So this is our Thursday to go to lunch, and we didn't get to go, and he said, oh, he's bringing lunch. We're like, yay!
Yeah, both on Panera. So it's one of the better ones. One of the better Paneras.
Did I just read that Paneras are having financial trouble though?
Probably. So they franchise a lot of their Paneras, and so you never know what you get.
Their prices got outrageous. Everybody's did though.
Ridiculous. Well, so before COVID, I was paying like $8.95, I think, for a soup.
yeah, here's what you
Some person is $24 now.
Yeah, how long have you had
It's
this?
ridiculous.
Well, you can get new grips for it. You've had it for